Following the UK's departure from the EU, the UK government is involved in a frantic series of negotiations. In this contribution, I focus on two issues where the UK government is committed to finding a quick resolution. And right at the start, I want to thank UK and Changing Europe for giving me the permission to use this text for this video. You find the direct link to UK and Changing Europe in the description and also to their YouTube channel. But let's get back to the topic and the two issues. One involves negotiations with the EU, the post-Brexit fishing arrangements. The other is an internal UK issue, which is a consequence of Brexit, the replacement of the EU structural funds. Both of these have consequences for the Union, with significant interests outside England involved in both cases. Wales has benefited more from the latest round of EU structural funds than other parts of the Union, while the Scottish fishing fleet is significantly larger than that of any other nation. Fishing and Brexit go hand in hand. Removal of EU boats from UK waters was a major demand of Leave supporters. With the introduction of the new Fisheries Bill, the UK government aspires to take back the power to act as an independent coastal state. Thus, from the end of the transition period, the UK would claim the right to control who can fish in its exclusive economic zone, the EEZ. The next step is to negotiate a new agreement. Time is short. The October 2019 political declaration committed the UK and the EU to, and I quote there, use their best endeavours to conclude and ratify their new fisheries agreement by July 1st, 2020 in order for it to be in place in time to be used for determining fishing opportunities for the first year after the transition period. Yeah, 1st of July is gone a long time already. With Ireland, Denmark, the Netherlands, France and Spain all keen to have continued access to UK waters, agreement will not be easy. Excluding boats from these countries from UK waters could seriously damage some small but vocal coastal communities. They will certainly press their governments to take a tough stance with the UK. The EU controls access to continental seafood markets, the principal destination both for fish caught by UK boats and for farmed fish. This is a strong bargaining chip for the EU, which continental fish interests may be keen to exploit. UK firms selling into the EU market are likely to face a mixture of tariffs and regulation that will inevitably add to their costs, making them less competitive. The Norway-EU fishing arrangement might act as a template for the UK-EU negotiations. For the UK fishing industry, it is perhaps the best that can be hoped for, given that the overall agreement between Norway and the EU includes some provisions which cross UK government red lines, the most important being acceptance of the free movement of people. In 2016, the value of fish and shellfish caught by UK boats in the UK EEZ was around 814 million. But this comprised less than half of the total value of the catch in the UK EEZ. The rest was caught by EU boats. Excluding these would make the remaining 50% available to the UK fleet. Norwegian fishing boats catch around 84% of the fish and shellfish in the Norwegian EEZ. In terms of production value, the increase in the catch would likely offset the negative effects of tariffs if they were levied around those applicable to Norway. To which parts of the industry will this benefit accrue? The UK fishing industry is dominated by Scottish production. This is partly because it can access a much larger share of the UK EEZ than the other nations. In 2018, more whitefish and pelagic fish were landed in Shetland than in England, Wales and Northern Ireland combined. The fish most likely to become available if EU boats are given more restricted access to the UK EEZ are hake, herring, mackerel and saithe. Landings of these fish in Scotland were valued at 129.7 million. The comparable figure for England was 7.6 million. Thus, Scottish production already substantially exceeds that from England in those fish stocks, likely to freed up by EU exit. This makes it likely that the Scottish fishing industry will be the main beneficiary of increased access to fishing quota within the UK EEZ. Further, as revealed by Greenpeace, the Scottish industry is highly concentrated with relatively few firms accounting for a large proportion of the catch in Scottish waters. These firms are also those most likely to make substantial gains from restricting the access of EU boats to the UK EEZ. Benefits to the wider fishing community, which primarily uses boats of less than 10 meters, are likely to be limited. As well as having an unusual ownership structure, capture fishing is also a relatively small industry comprising only 0.12% of UK GDP. Trade negotiations will cover a wide spectrum of industries and services. Inevitably, there will be trade-offs between sectors. One possible trade-off that has been mooted for fishing is financial services. This sector contributed 132 billion to the UK economy in 2018 and 1.1 million jobs. There was a surplus in financial service trade of 44 billion and the sector contributed 29 billion in tax. That's 557 million per week. This industry may be less popular than fishing for a variety of reasons, but its tax contribution to support public services is worth more than 30 times the entire output of fishing. Given this background, the negotiation of the Fisheries agreement with the EU will inevitably be complex. There will be losers as well as winners. At the moment, at UK level, the political momentum seems to favour significant restrictions on EU access to UK fishing grounds. The question likely to emerge in the negotiations is how high a price is the UK government willing to pay to achieve this goal? Given that Scotland's contribution to catch fishing dominates that of the other UK nations, it is difficult to see how UK-EU fishing negotiations would not include the Scottish Government as an active partner. Scotland also dominates the fish farming sector and has strong interest in fish processing, which together are more important but less vocal than catch fishing. Each of these sectors has a direct interest in negotiations around EU market access. The Scottish Government will no doubt argue strongly for a prominent role when the future of these sectors are discussed. The 2019 Conservative majority owed much to Brexit supporting voters in the north of England. While austerity may have been a more salient cause than Brexit of disaffection with incumbent politicians, largely from Labour, the Conservatives now believe that to retain power they will have to deliver significant economic benefits to left-behind communities in the north. One immediate action has been to consider overhauling the Treasury's Green Book, the rule book for appraising public sector projects. Diane Coyle and Marianne Sensier argued that the application of the Green Book has reinforced regional imbalances in the UK economy and specifically favoured infrastructure investment in London over the north of England. Changes to the Green Book will not cause an immediate surge in infrastructure spending in the north. For some projects, the gap between appraisal and construction can be measured in decades, for example, the third runway at Heathrow. So what is available in short term? One possibility is the Shared Prosperity Fund, the SPF, which was first mooted in the 2017 Conservative General Election Manifesto. It is intended to replace EU structural funds, which are worth about 2.1 billion per year. The main components of the structural funds are the European Regional Development Fund, which currently focuses on innovation and research, the digital agenda, support for SMEs, and the low carbon economy, and the European Social Fund, which currently focuses on promoting employment, social inclusion, investing in education and skills, and enhancing institutional capacity. The SFP is therefore due to be implemented after EU funding ends in early 2021. As with fishing, the timescale is short. There have been ministerial statements that give some clues as to the design of the SPF. James Brookenshire, when Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government, suggested that the fund will tackle inequalities between communities by raising productivity, especially in those parts of our country whose economies are furthest behind, will be a simplified integrated fund, will respect the devolution settlements, will respect local priorities. The 2019 Conservative Manifesto committed to ensuring that 500 million of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund is used to give disadvantaged people the skills they need to make a success of life. This looks like a replacement for the European Social Fund, but no other information was available. And with time running short, the UK government has not yet carried out its promised consultation on the SPF. So, although first mooted almost 3 years ago, there is still no clarity on the design of the SPF. For those left behind communities in the north of England, the SPF is unlikely to be transformative. If the fund is set at the same level as the existing European structural funds, 2.1 billion per annum, the spending will comprise 0.2% of total managed expenditures by the UK government in 2019-2020. While this is only part of a series of other relatively small initiatives, such as the city deals, directed towards the north, this level of SPF funding hardly amounts to a significant commitment to helping left behind communities catch up. In the absence of proposals at UK level, the Scottish and Welsh governments have been consulting on the SPF, even though there is no clarity on the extent to which the devolved governments can influence its design. Both Scotland and Wales have had considerable autonomy over the direction of these structural funds in previous EU spending rounds, dealing directly with the EU over how the funds were to be applied. The SPF is particularly important for the Welsh government since it has been receiving around 370 million a year from the structural funds. The Welsh government has argued that there should be no reduction in spending in Wales after EU exit and that this should come through the Welsh baseline budget. This would mean that the Welsh government, with consent of the National Assembly, could direct the additional funding as it saw fit. It also advocates partnership working, flexible working, with a set of core objectives and priorities and simplified appraisal, monitoring and evaluation processes. The latter are relatively uncontentious conditions. For all the devolved institutions, the key element will be the extent to which they have granted autonomy over the use of the funds. The Scottish Government is currently consulting on the design of the SPF. It has involved a wide range of stakeholders with both geographical and thematic skills and innovation interests. As in Wales, many of these issues raised in the Scottish consultation will be relevant to the design of the SPF in England. But as in Wales, the Scottish Government is likely to argue that control of the fund in Scotland should reside in Scotland. On the other hand, the UK government may see the SPF as providing a mechanism for highlighting its role in supporting regional policy across the UK. And if you now want to know more about European politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you in the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!